if programmer finds this statement or this instruction may cause an error, may cause an exception, then he will give that piece of the program in the try block. As we are executing the sub program in the main program, it has to return some value to the main program. Until unless, why should I call the sub function, right? The position what it is given in the same position, in the same order, we should pass the parameter. That is nothing but the positional parameter. Hello everyone, welcome to one more session on Python programming subject for 4th semester B.Ca. Myself, Indu J, Faculty of Computer Science Department, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. In today's session, we are going to discuss what is exception handling and how we can use functions in the Python. Okay, without any further thing, we'll move on to the topic. What is exception handling? What do you mean by exception? Any error that occurs in the program while executing, that is treated as exception. Exception means something different from regular execution. Exception is what? Something different from the regular execution. That is called as exception. Any error that occurs during the execution, that has to be taken care, right? If any errors are there in the programming code, you cannot get the proper output. So that has to be taken care. How we are going to take care of those exceptions is nothing but a exception handling. Let us have a definition. Exceptions are raised when some internal events occurs which changes the normal flow of program. As normal flow, something happens apart from the normal flow, that is called as exception. There are two types of exception. One is syntax error and one is logical error. When we are typing anything, if we are typing something wrong, that comes under the syntax error. If you are following some set of rules to write up in the programming language, that is called as syntax. If you go away from those rules, then it gives you a syntax error. And the second one is a logical error. What do you mean by logical? Like divisible by 0. It is not possible. Computer cannot understand divisible by 0. It threw an error. Similarly, if you are taking a marks as a variable with a limited memory allocation and you are allocating a larger memory, then also computer throws an error. Computer is not as intelligent as human, right? Whatever we feed into, that only it will execute. So it cannot analyze and it cannot reply back. So that is called as logical error. Whenever we occur with a logical error, those errors are called as exceptions. Okay, example for the exception, as we have just now said, initialize the amount of variable. Here marks. What is the marks? Maximum of 3 digits. So why do I need 10,000 of allocation, memory allocation there? So at that time it will throw a error that it has been requested for large memory which is not available in the main memory of the system. Okay, and the second type of exception is division with the 0. Marks divided by 0. Anything divisible by 0, is it possible? No, right? Computer throws an error. These is the examples of some exception what it can come. So why we need to handle these kinds of exception? Why to handle these kind of, if these exceptions are not handled properly, what we are going to suffer? That is first point. If not handled properly, it leads to the sudden termination of program. What you are executing the program for one purpose to solve one problem, that cannot be solved. That will be terminated abruptly without informing anything. You may terminate, you may come out of from the program. Then it can block the application. If you are running any application like bank application or something like that, it will block such applications for that exception. Then data loss problem can occur. Once we terminate abruptly, whatever so far the execution is done, so far the data has been changed, that will be lost. We cannot retrieve such data. That is, data loss problem can occur. Corrupt the data files. As we have blocking the applications, it will corrupt the files that already exist in the system. So if we are not handling, we are going to face all these problems when we are not handling the exceptions properly in our program. Next, we have how to handle the exception. We can handle the exception using mainly 4 keywords. What are the keywords to handle the exception? Handling exception with try, except, finally. And one more keyword is there, else. Okay, using these 4 keywords, we can handle the exception. What try block will do, if anything is there, if programmer finds this statement or this instruction may cause an error, may cause an exception, then he will give that piece of the program in the try block. Okay, if that piece of the program is throwing error, then that can be rectified using the except keyword in the except block. Let us see, the try block let you test the block of the code for the error. If the programmer finds fields in any piece of the code, piece of the program, he may get the error. That time he will use a try keyword or a try block. That complete set of instruction will be put it in the try block for the errors. The except block, what except will do, let you handle that error. What if error occurs during the try block, what's supposed to be done, that will set by the except block. The else block, what else block will do, else block will, if exception occurs, then it is no errors are there in the exception, then will else block will be executed. Getting the point, if I have try, one piece of the code will be there. If there is a error, if there is error, do except. Okay, do except. In try block, I had put some piece of the code. If no errors, then execute else block. Okay, then finally, what finally does? If out of these two, it will try, it will accept, or it will go to else block. Irrespective of this thing, it will execute the next piece of the code. Defaultly it will go. If you want to, you can explicitly specify the finally block. Whatever may happen here, you have to finally execute this set of the statement that represents. Okay, finally block let you to execute the code regardless of the result of try and except block. Whatever may happen, I want to execute this line of code that is set by finally block. Okay, these are all the main 4 keywords what we are using in the Python for exception handling. Example of exception handling. Example of exception handling. Here we have a try block as well as a except block. In try block, what we are trying to print some variable, say x. That value of x variable is not defined. Value of x variable is not defined. At that time, what it will print? It will say there is an error. Who is going to say that there is an error? The value has to be initialized to the variable x. Except block will going to say you that an exception occur. X is not defining. What is the exception? That is x is not defined. That is raised by executing the try block. Next example, one more example for exception handling, what we have is try, except, and here what I am trying, print x. Same example, except name error. Why it is name error? Because x is a name of variable. X is a name of variable. So it's saying that except there is a name error in that, print variable x is not defined. Or I can do except print something else went wrong. Don't know what is exactly the problem is, exactly the error is. At that time, we can say except thing that what something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. So after that, it will go to finally. So this piece of the code will not be executed and it will go to finally block. You can use the else keyword. You can use the else keyword to define a block of code to be executed if no errors were raised. That we have already discussed in the previous slide when we are discussing the keywords of exception handling. Then we are moving into the Python function. What is function? Function is a small piece of the code that will execute itself and give some return value to the main program. Okay, same that holds good in the Python also. The function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. When we are saying it's a function, we have different types. Function, definition, function, declaration, and function calling. When we have function calling, we have two types here, called function and calling function. Okay. So let's discuss what is this. Function definition. Definition means defining what has to be there in that function. Each and every line should be defined properly within that function. That is called as function definition. Function declaration. Declaration means what? We are telling the main program that I'm going to use this function in my programming code. That is, you're declaring the name of the function before using the function. That is called as function declaration. Function calling, from the main function to execute a separate piece of the code or separate sub function, I should call the function. Which is a called function? That is a user defined function is a called function and main function is a calling function. Okay, clear with this. What is definition? Defining with a set of instruction is called as definition. Function declaration, telling the compiler priorly that we are going to use this function in the program execution, that is declaring. Okay, and then function calling, we have call function and calling function. Call function is the one who allows to execute the user defined function, and calling function is one who will call the function to get the result back for the further execution. So these are the main concepts. Let have this function is a block of the code which runs only when it is called. You can pass a data known as a parameter into the functions. We can pass the data as a parameter into the function. Function can return some data as a result. As we are executing the sub program in the main program, it has to return some value to the main program. Until unless, why should I call the sub function, right? So it should return the data. Type of functions, I have two types of the function, that is built-in function and the user-defined function. What is built-in function? Which is already there in the programming language libraries. They have done while developing the language and they have kept, just we need to call the function. We need not to define the function, just we need to call the function. We need not to define or we need not to declare such type of built-in functions. Coming to the user-defined function, we have when the programmer is writing the code, programmer wants some sub-program to be executed for his solving the problem, then he defines some of the function, a small piece of the program. So that is called as user-defined functions. How to create the function? What is the syntax for creating the functions? In Python, we are creating the function by using the keyword called def. Def means defining the function. Def followed by the function name. What should be my function name? As a programmer itself writing the code for that function, he can give any name as he wish or has his convenience. Okay, then we can pass the parameter. There can be the function with the parameter and there can be the function without parameters also. Okay, it's purely depends on the problem what we are solving it for. Once we have defined, we have given the name and we have given the parameter for the function, then we have to give number of statements or number of instruction to be executed when this particular function is called. After completion of this execution, then it has to return some expression value to where? To calling function. Okay, so this is a syntax for creating the functions in Python. Calling function. What do you mean by calling function? How to call the function? It may be the inbuilt function or it may be the user-defined function. Here we are focusing on user-defined function. To call a function, use a function name followed by parenthesis. What we should do? Use the function name followed by parenthesis. This is function calling. This is function definition. As we are using the def keyword here, we are defining the function called my function. Here we are supposed to pass the parameters if we are required, and it should always end with the colon. When we are defining the function, always it should end with a colon. So once it is called, it will go, control will go to the mydef function and it will execute the print statement. And it will be written as it is. It will give the return value, the print value as a return value, and that will be given as a output. Hello from function. The same thing will be given to the main program. That is called as function calling. This is calling, and the syntax of calling is function name followed by the parenthesis. Next, what we have is functions with parameters. How we can pass the parameters to the functions. Information can be passed into the function as a argument. Okay, here your parameter or argument, we will use the term interchangeably. Okay, arguments are specified after the function name inside the parenthesis. Where we are supposed to give the parameters or the argument is after the function name within the parenthesis. So here what it is, 6 parameters and its data type. Which data type it is carrying? What value we should give as a parameters? That should be declared within the parenthesis. So then after that, we are supposed to give the body of the function, and as the syntax of the function goes, we have to return some value to the main execution. So let us have an example for function with the parameters. The same, we are defining one function called my function. Here what is the parameter? F name is my parameter what I am passing. Okay, whenever function is called, here we are calling the function name with the parameter value. What is my F name here? F name is equal to, I am passing the value as A, B, C. Now what it will print? Print F name plus, so here we are passing the value for variable F name as A, B, C. So what would be the output? We have to concatenate these two strings. What is the F name value? F name value is A, B, C, and second string what I have at gmail.com. So this would be the output for my first function call. First function call ABC is a parameter what we are passing as a value for F name. In the second function call, what we are passing DEF as a parameter as a value for F name. In place of F name, it will be given as DEF at gmail.com. Similarly, for the third function, in place of DEF, that will be replaced with XYZ. We can give the value for the variables that has passed as a parameter. This is an example for the functions with the parameter. There are different type of parameters passing technique. Let us see. One is positional argument passing, keyword, default argument and variable length arguments. Arguments, or it may be the parameters. When we are passing the parameter, we have two types of parameters like formal parameter and actual parameter. What is formal parameter? That the value you pass from main function to the called function, that is called as actual parameters, and what is the value given for the parameter is called as a formal parameters. Okay, let us see what is positional argument. How the arguments or the parameters are passed when we pass using the positional arguments. We use the position arguments during the function call so that the first argument is assigned to the name and the second argument is assigned to the age. Here we have taken one example. Define name age. What is the function name? Function name is name age. If the first parameter is name and the second parameter is age. Whatever the value we are sending here as name age, here A, B, C, 28. So, whatever the parameter we are sending here, the first parameter what we are sending, it should be of the type name, and the second parameter what we are sending, it should be of the type age. We can declare in this form or we can declare directly. Print, hi, I am dash name. During this name, I can give A, B, C. Right. And during the second print statement, I can give the second argument value. So, either the way we can define the parameter, we can give the value to the parameter for the function name age. If we change the position of the parameter value, it won't give the proper result. Here you can see in place of the name, what I'm giving some integer value, that is a age value, and in place of age, I'm giving some characters value, that is called as name value. So this cannot be accepted. Okay, the position what it is given in the same position, in the same order, we should pass the parameter. That is nothing but the positional parameter. And the next type of the parameter is keyword parameter. It's irrespective of the position, you can give the value for the keyword. Okay, the idea is to allow the caller to specify the argument name with the value so that the caller does not need to remember the order of parameter. Here we need not to bother about position of parameter or the order of parameter, how we have passed it. Just you have to use a keyword and you have to give the value for that keyword. Here in this example, you can say we are defining one function called student. There we are passing two parameters, first name of the student and the last name of the student. So, first name, we had to print first name and then the last name of the student. When calling the function, call the function student. First name is equal to Vidya and last name is equal to Ashram. Right? It will give you Vidya, Ashram as an output. Right? It is also acceptable. Okay, as we are giving the position, as we are giving the key values to each other, and this is also acceptable. The last name is Ashram, that is passed as a first parameter, and first name, which was a first parameter here, that will be passed as a second parameter. That will be passed as a second parameter, but output will be same. Output will be same because it always takes the keywords what we have passed as. Okay, it will go to the first name and it will go to the last name. Output will be displayed as a Vidhyaashram itself. Okay, this is about keyword argument. Next type of the argument what we have is default argument. Defaultly it will take the value when we are not declared properly. Here We have the function definition. Name of the function is my function. Two parameters I have, x and then the y. X value is not initialized, y value is initialized. Next, when we are passing the parameter, I am passing only one parameter, though I have two parameters for that particular function. Right, this 10 will be defaultly taken by the first argument of the my function, and y will be 50 as we have declared in the parameter of the function. So this would be the output for the given example. This is what the default argument. Defaultly it will take which value is not given and which value is given. Defaultly it will take the values when we have passed the values for the parameter. Next important is variable length parameter. Here we can vary the length of the parameters. That is called as variable length parameter. In Python, arbitrary keyword arguments like args, this is a keyword argument, can pass the variable numbers of the arguments to the function. It can pass different length of the arguments as a parameter using the specific symbols. What is a symbol here? We can define one function, my function. This is a keyword what we are supposed to use. argc, argument passing. We are passing the variable length argument. Okay, for this is a variable, arg is a variable in variable length arguments. So print arg. Print arg means whatever the value we can print directly. How many parameters we are passing? We are passing 1, 2, 3 and 4. It does not depends. Here we have declared only one variable, but here we are passing 4 variables. We can pass the variable length parameters with the help of variable length argument by using the keyword argv. So this is all about variable length arguments. Hope you are clear with how function will be called, which is calling function, which is called function, what is a function call with the parameter, function call without the parameter, how many types of function call with the parameters are there. Okay, thank you.